What is up, For Honor family? In this one, I want to talk about those testing grounds Peacekeeper changes. I hope y'all jump into the PK testing grounds because as a community, it's important to try it out and voice our thoughts to the dev team. What these testing grounds were about was altering some of Peacekeeper's feats to focus on bleed synergy and to help her in group fights. They achieved that with these changes, in my opinion. However, they're not all good, and I'll provide my thoughts at the end, but let's cover and take a quick look at these changes. You have the tier 1, which is crossbow. Fire a crossbow at your opponent, get your 5 damage plus 10 bleed damage with a cooldown of 30 seconds. This feat replaces Bounty Hunter. What do y'all think of this feat even replacing Bounty Hunter? I'm sure some players are not happy about that. That was interesting. As PK players know, crossbow is currently her tier 3 feat. They moved it here and it operates the same, it just does less damage now that it's a tier 1. You have the tier 2, Bleed Armor, a passive feat that gives PK a 20% defense buff for 5 seconds when she hits a bleeding opponent. This cannot be reset while active and there is no cooldown, and it replaces Fiat Lux. You can see how this feat works here, a little bleed action going on, a little hit that follows, and then you can see the defense buff registered on her arms, giving you the typical visual that For Honor has for buffs. They typically use a purple hue for debuffs. You have the tier 3 Deflect Expert, a passive feat that allows you to deflect attacks without matching their attack direction. It replaces crossbow, so during the den, they showed you being able to use this feat while ganking an opponent, allowing you to time a front dodge attack and get a deflect on an opponent throwing a side attack that's not locked on to you. This is an interesting feat. Interesting because I don't know how they actually thought this was the best they could do for her. I just don't get it, but I'll get into my thoughts about that shortly. You have the tier 4 Induce Fear, a passive feat where PK applies a 20% debuff to all enemies within a 6-meter radius. This replaces Fear itself. Here you can see the debuff circle surrounding her, and with this being a passive, it definitely makes her a consistent threat defensively and offensively, and also in outnumbered situations, whether defensive or offensive. Okay, so let's get into my thoughts, and here they are. Do I think they achieved their goal of bleed synergy with the feats? Yes. Will this help her be more effective in team fights? Without question they will. The tier 1 helps her be more of an external threat by applying bleed to enemy, allowing her to get to her unblockable and threat, which is important. And as a bonus, it can also help her teammates such as Shaman or Nobushi. The tier 2 plus 20% defense buff she receives after hitting a bleeding opponent is mainly effective to defend her from immediate external attacks, since it's only gonna last about 5 seconds. I say about, no, 5 seconds. That goes by fast once you hit a bleeding opponent because you're focused in on taking advantage of your applied bleed, and it doesn't reset if you make the opponent bleed within those 5 seconds. And initially I thought this should be a little longer with a cooldown, but after playing a little longer, I don't think it does. We don't need PK being a tank. This can be applied over and over so she can continue to get the defense buff if she hits a bleeding target. And with there being other heroes that could help her synergy by applying bleed themselves, I think this is an okay feat for her as far as the 5 seconds is concerned. The tier 3 Deflect Expert feels weird and cheesy to me, y'all. One thing about this feat is that it doesn't just help PK defensively. I know when they showcased it during the den, it was from a defensive ganking perspective, and with them showcasing that, I'm thinking that was part of the intended use of this passive, but this can be effective for her offensively as well, and it just doesn't feel right to me. You'll see here how I use this offensively going in the opposite direction, but timing it at the same time as the Highlander's attack. Overall, I just want them to do something different with this, and I hope they don't make this live. Don't take it live, y'all. This is the one feat I think they need to go back to the drawing board on, and this might sound weird, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but what if they upgraded the Slippery feat? Make it her tier 3 feat so she can't be GB'd for 30 seconds, decrease the cooldown to 60 seconds, and provide like a 10% defense buff to it, something like that. I actually think doing that would complement her and her other feats the most. Y'all can just strike me down and get out your pitchforks and torch me if you want for that comment. You can make it passive with a 90 or 120 second cooldown. Even then, players will really need to pay attention to see which feats are active. So you better be an attentive player if that was the case, but they're probably not going to change it. That was just a suggestion. The tier 4 is a great addition for her as well. Any hero with a passive walking debuff is going to help their teammates more, and this is no different. It makes me want to PK around as a teammate, and all she has to do is stay close. She don't have to bother nothing, just stand by me. I know some players may not like it, but we have to remember the roles we play in the game. We have teammates for a reason, so you're not always going to be in a position where you have a PK hovering and babysitting you while you go 1v1 with her teammate. You should have help on the way, or you can make a point to go after PK. You have options. I don't think it's a bad feat. If they made the radius slightly smaller, I'm okay with that too, since it would require PK to be within maybe a shorter striking distance for the enemy that she is ganking. So those were the changes from Testing Grounds. I hope you provided your feedback, and if you didn't have a chance, at least you know what the changes were compared to what makes it into the live version of the game. Players want an avenue to reach the devs, and they're providing it. Keep taking advantage of it while it's here, y'all. So let me know your thoughts on the PK Testing Ground feat changes. Thank y'all for stopping by the channel today and watching. I appreciate your support. Till next time, y'all. Peace.